I'd like to call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. It's Thursday, December 12th, 2024, and I've asked Member McMillan to offer a prayer, and after which, if you'd all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that we can gather together today as a County Planning Commission. We thank thee for all the blessings that was blessed us with, and for this holiday season. We ask the Heavenly Father to have thy Spirit with us as we discuss these items, that you will lead and guide us to treat each other fairly and make decisions that are best upon all the residents of our county. And we say these things humbly in the name of the Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next item is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by Member Murray. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Member Little. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, unanimous. Declarations of any conflicts of interest with any items on the agenda. I'll state for the record, we are adjoining landowners to Wasatch Peaks Ranch, and we've had discussions regarding storm runoff from their roads. So we will move on. Now is the time for public comment. We have 3 administrative items. They don't have their own public hearing, so if you wish to speak on any of those, now would be your time. If you wish to speak regarding the airport overlay zone, text amendment, and group home text amendment, we'd ask that you would reserve your time during our public hearing. So if when you come to the lectern, please state your name for the record.
Okay. My name's Randy Sessions. We received notification that there would be a vacation of 100 acres of a parcel plat from Wasatch Peaks. And I've had discussions with Ed tonight, and through the whole process with the development agreement was between Morgan County and Wasatch Peaks, and there's one specific area in there concerning stormwater. And we've had some issues with stormwater, and what it was is the roads collected water and deposited on our property directly in 3 or 4 places, and it caused us some grief. It washed out a ditch that I have. My irrigation ditch goes through there, and I submitted bills to Wasatch Peaks, and they reimbursed me for the construction I had to have done. I was fair with them. I didn't charge them for management or profit. I just submitted the bill, so I was fair with them. The parcel that they're looking at vacating, there were indications they might be selling to someone else. It wouldn't be part of the development agreement, but they would still retain ownership. I've had discussions, but my concern is that they have built some mitigation to stop flooding onto us or limit the amount of water or how it's dispersed onto us. And I wanted to make sure those mitigation structures were taken care of, and to get to them was be a problem. And my concern is this piece of ground that's being vacated provided access to some of those structures. And so in the discussion, I would ask that this plat, whether they own it for now or for the next 20 years, if someone else owns it, that there be an easement granted to Wasatch Peaks that they can access and go in there and maintain, replace, and do anything that needs to be done on those structures to divert that water, that storm water that may come off of the road. So as you discussed tonight, and they will have opportunity to talk, but I would ask that there be an easement placed on this property that grants the ability to cross it to maintain those structures. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to the next item is number 6, discussion decision WPR North Village Townhomes Plat Amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening to the members of the Planning Commission. Application number 24.051 is the WPR North Village Townhome Plat Amendment. The applicant being in the audience tonight, Madam Chair, with the approximate project location being at 5086 West Wasatch Peaks Road. The affected acreage will be approximately 0.71 acres, and the zoning is a resort special district with an applicable development agreement. For context, application 23.069 approved last year is the North Village Residential Site Plan, wherein the buildings were approved previously. A small subdivision was approved last year, the North Village, the Wasatch Peaks North Village Loft Townhomes condominium plat approved last year. As you can see in that plat, there's a 4 buildings shown there with units 1 through 8, with the small subdivision not showing the last 2 buildings that were approved with the site plan. This plat amendment aims to add those 2 buildings, which would be a total of 4 lots, Madam Chair, to be the plat amendment and the request tonight. A review was completed, Madam Chair, with the fire department, the county engineer, the county surveyor, and the planning staff, all having conducted reviews and finding that this meets the minimum code requirements for a plat amendment, and as such recommends approval to this body for a recommendation to the county commission for approval. Staff is happy to answer any questions you and the commission may have, Madam Chair, and give you my time. Thank you.
Any questions for staff?
So they want to add 4 units?
4 units across 2 buildings.
Not technically. So the site plan application was approved last year, which granted approval for all
6?
6 buildings or 12 total units. They only platted out 8 of them to keep it under the small subdivision limit. So all buildings are currently under construction. The only thing this plat is doing is platting them out so they can sell them. That's all this plat does. It creates the lots so they can sell them. But the buildings are currently under construction right now.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff?
I have a dumb question, if I can ask one. I notice on the list of conditions, I forget what they call it, it's the table. I just out of my own curiosity, says owner's dedication is present but not signed. What does that mean? I guess that's probably for Garrett more than anyone. What does that mean, Garrett?
Well, I'll just answer. The owner's dedication is a required block on every plat. They just need to get that signed before we can get it recorded.
By the owner.
Yeah, the owner's dedication has to be signed. They bring it in, then we get the other signatures like the attorney, the county commission, planning commission, the engineer, surveyor. They all have to sign it before it can be recorded. So if there's any outstanding comments for like the surveyor and the engineer, they're not going to sign it till those are done anyway. So in this case, I don't think there's any outstanding issues that need to be addressed for the surveyor and the engineer. They've already gone through two in-house reviews. So we're bringing it forward. That was just a condition. They're going to have to sign it before.
Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, I'm ready for a motion.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I move we recommend approval to the County Commission for the WPR North Village Townhome Plat Amendment, application 24.051, the addition of 2 townhome buildings totaling for 4 units, which were previously approved in North Village residential site plan, approximately located at 5086 West Wasatch Peaks Road in unincorporated Morgan County, based on the findings listed in the staff report dated December 12th, 2024.
I have a motion by member Little. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by member Maloney. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, unanimous. Next agenda item, this is WPR North Village Mountain Villas plat amendment.
Madam Chair, the WPR North Village Mountain Villas plat amendment is application 24.052. And writing the staff report was difficult because it's almost exactly the same ask. And I had to keep both applications open so I could keep them straight. The proximity is even similar. I wouldn't even say 100 or so feet away. Is instead of the townhomes for the mountain villas, this application aims to do the exact same thing, where those 4 buildings. Let's see. Will you go back to the previous? 4 buildings were previously approved, platted under the Mountain Villas. Sorry, the WPR North Village Mountain Villas condominium plat, where the residential site plan allowed for the building of all of the structures. This application aims to add as well 4 extra units to this lot, spread between 2 separate buildings. Otherwise, the applications are the same and the ask is the same.
Any questions for staff on this one?
So was this the same, they platted 4 units? Those 4 units were platted.
They platted 8 units, 4 buildings. But the site plan, in order for them to start building, allowed them to build all the buildings. You just can't sell the building
Right.
until it's platted.
Right.
And so they came in, they submitted 3 small subdivisions because each small subdivision was for a different parcel in the same general area. And then there's still one that they'll come forward in the future to do something similar than this. So this is just platting out the last 2 buildings of what was approved through the site plan.
So the small subdivision process, they were taking advantage of that with these existing, or the ones that are here now.
I would say taking advantage. They used the process that we had in place for a small subdivision.
Good on them.
And at the time, I told them if they wanted to plat out the last buildings, they would have to choose to either complete a large subdivision or a plat amendment, and they chose plat amendment.
So this is not the first time we're seeing this layout or this.
That's correct. The last time it came through was last year.
Josh, are these under construction as well?
That's correct. That is correct. Yeah.
Is it standard operating procedure for us to issue building permits before they're platted?
Yeah. If somebody wants to create an apartment complex that will never be platted, they would go through the site plan application. They would build their building. They would get a C of O for each unit, so they could start renting them out. You just can't sell. The platting process itself creates the lot that can be sold.
Thank you.
Huh?
Any more questions for staff or for the applicant? Ready for a motion? Nicklin?
Madam Chair, I move we recommend approval to the County Commission of the WPR North Village Mountain Villas plat amendment application number 24.052 for the addition of 2 buildings totaling 4 units, which were previously approved in the North Village residential site plan, approximately located at 5086 West Wasatch Peaks Road in unincorporated Morgan County, based on the findings listed in the staff report dated December 12, 2024.
I have a motion by member Wilson, second,
Second it.
and a second by member Little. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, unanimous. Okay, next item is the WPR Plat 1 Second Amendment Plat Vacation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This request is application 24.054. The applicant again being in the audience, located the same approximately 5086 West Wasatch Peaks Road. The affected acreage being that of 100.47 acres, with the zoning being, the current zoning being F1. So there's actually an error in the staff report, Madam Chair. It's F1, if I'm not mistaken. The request for tonight was referenced in the public comments section, as the applicant is wishing to vacate this property from the Wasatch Peaks Ranch Plat 1 and applicable, and again, never was part of the approved development agreement, so they're wishing to vacate it from WPR Plat 1. And there's not much else to say. The staff has done a review of this request under the plat amendment, the amended plat requirements from our code, specifically that pertaining to vacating or changing a plat, and finds that the request meets the minimum code requirements for doing so. A review having been done both by planning staff and the county surveyor.
With one caveat, we have requested, because our county surveyor is requesting, if you look on the screen where the mouse is pointing, across this property, the Wasatch Peaks Ranch Road bisects this 100 acres. We've requested that they submit, when they submit for their Mylars, that they show the easement where that road was constructed across the land. And in addressing the individual who spoke during public comments, it is within your purview to stipulate that that an easement be created granting access to WPR so they can continue to repair any of those storm drain facilities that they have on this property.
Otherwise, staff is happy to answer questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. I see one other. I know our subdivision process and plating requires that adjoining properties be labeled with ownership, and there's no ownership on that parcel. Probably should be labeled as Wasatch Peaks Ranch.
I add that as a stipulation of approval, and we will make sure that when they resubmit their Mylars, that is on there before we record it.
Jeremy?
Yes.
It was part of the development agreement, but not, it was part of this plat, but not part of the development agreement?
It was included as part of the plat. It is not part of the development agreement, so they're trying to rectify that and pull it out. If the applicant wanted to speak to the ownership of the property and answer some of those questions, they're in the audience right now.
So was this acreage counted as part of density calculations or considerations?
No, it was considered a parcel. It was not considered one of the lots.
But the total acreage, when we talk
Yeah,
about
the
this-
total acreage, they have 12,000 acres. 25 approximately 100 acres is developable. They were allotted 750 ERUs, equivalent residential units. Given the amount of density that they are actually creating in these areas, this is negligible.
And it wasn't included in the legal description of the development agreement, so it was never included in the calculations.
That's correct. Even if it were, it's not gonna affect it.
And maybe a question for them, do they own it?
Howdy, Ed Schultz with WPR. For your question, yes, we do own it. And we made a mistake back in 2018 when we first started putting together the development agreement, and the location determined on this is a east line of our property. We picked the wrong line, and so it was not included into the development agreement. And then, but Then, this was 2018 going on 2019. We start the platting process in 2021, and we used the correct Alta survey, and it went all the way to that property. And so if you look at this exhibit that's up on the site, I can't remember which lot, I believe it's to see how, because that wasn't in the development agreement, we could plat lots right up to that, but it wasn't included in one of our defined areas or actually benefited by the development agreement that we put together with the county back then. But then fast forward to 2021 and we go through the platting process, we know where the property line is and we include that in the plat. It's a mistake. Now we have really a non-conforming use because the underlying zoning is F1, but it's 160 acres to do anything with that. And so we're cleaning things up right now. And as for Mr. Sessions' questions, it is to our benefit to define an easement across there. Should we ever transfer it, put a conservation easement, do anything like that? So very easy to go ahead and, because it's not part of the development agreement, to also, put that in as a condition. We'll define the easement as well as the responsibilities for all the stormwater solutions and all the protections that help control those flows that affect his property, as well as we do this on the Whittier property where the road to the east goes through.
So I was wondering, rather than vacate, what would have prevented you from just incorporating that acreage into?
It would have been a public process, and we would have had to open the development agreement for public comment. And
Enough said.
My constitution
Yeah, enough said.
didn't have that in me.
Enough said.
Any other questions? I'm happy to ask. But thank you.
One question on the staff report, and I've already given Jeremy a bad time. He was saying that it was being returned to its original owner. So I was wondering what Shoshone he was going to give it to. But,
So I guess the question, this 100 acres at some point will be owned, if Wasatch Peaks sells or whatever, it could be owned by somebody, and the person would want to develop it, or I guess the question is this, would this land be able to be?
Okay, number one, this is an administrative item, and they meet all the code requirements, so it cannot be denied. It is something that has to be approved. Secondly, if it were transferred to somebody else and they wanted to develop it, they would have to go through a legislative process to develop it.
need a rezone.
Yeah.
That's correct, except with the entitlements of the F1, and the F1 does not grant that many entitlements.
Well, and it doesn't even meet, it's 100 acres, so.
Well, technically, whether it's, you still have the entitlements of the zoning in which it's located, whether it's 160 acres or not. We would have to track the history of the parcel if it goes back far enough, and we can determine that it's a developable parcel. In a non-conforming state, it's still developable at that point. If they can't, if I can't trace it back pre-1980, back to 50 plus years ago, and it was created after that point, then it's not developable, and then they would have to create the developability. And that would be through the rezoning and platting.
So the structures that Mr. Sessions referenced are constructed on this parcel? The storm drain?
Well, that's what's indicated. I don't know of any storm drain facilities on there. However, if there are, and you add a stipulation that they need to create an easement, then they would probably need to create a spring easement, because it will no longer be part of the plat. It will be off the plat, and a property owner can't grant themselves an easement. That's not legal. So they would have to create a spring easement that would go into place or spring into place the moment they sell the property.
Who monitors that?
Who monitors it? I would imagine the Sessions will monitor it very closely.
questions? As far as this plat, we need the road easement and the owner name on that parcel to road easement shown. There. No more questions.
Chair, I recommend we remove approval for the county commission for WPR plat 1, second amendment plat application number 24.054, approximately located 5086 West Washoe Speaks Road in the unincorporated Morgan County based on the findings listed in the staff report dated December 12th, 2024 with the following conditions: that the plat include the easement for the existing road, that the owner's name be included in the plat, and that a spring easement be created to grant Wasatch Peaks the ability to go on the property to maintain the storm drains.
Okay, we have a motion by Member Bishop. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second by Member Wilson. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move on to our first legislative item. This is the Airport Overlay Board text amendment.
The airport overlay zone text amendment was requested by the county commission. It is not changing a lot. Basically, it's split into multiple chapters of our code. There's 154, 155, and then we have a board section, but the board of the airport is not actually defined in the board section, which is Title 3, Chapter 33, I believe. So what this will do is it will pull out the board portion from Chapter 154. It will add it to Chapter 33 of our code, and then it'll change the makeup of the board from a 7-member or 6-member, 7-member down to a 3-member board. The reasoning behind that is because all of the hangars are already developed. There are leases for the development of every spot, and so instead of having a large board, they're gonna the recommendation is to take it to 3, 2 pilots, 1 non-pilot for the duration of the airport. The other portion of 154 is being added to Chapter 155 because it is land use related, and we're just trying to consolidate it all into one chapter. Other than the board makeup, nothing else is changing as far as I can tell. With that, staff is recommending approval. Our deputy county attorney pulled everything together and renumbered the entire thing. So it was amazing work. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the minor changes to the airport overlay zone, along with renumbering. And I can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, I have a question. In the memorandum, it says that the airport board is now called Airport Authority, but yet it's still referred, the text amendment still calls it the Airport Advisory Board.
The text itself is going to be called the Airport Advisory Board based on what we've done, so ignore that portion of the memo, I would say.
Okay.
So no other changes other than the composition of the number of members of the board are
Yep, that's correct, yeah.
just a housekeeping, cleaning things up and organizing.
Yep, and shrinking the size of the board, yep.
Part of it is just aligning our code, because all the creation of boards happen in another section, but for some reason this one was just put into the overlay or that area. And Commissioner McConnell is the one that kind of wanted this to move forward. He helped just draft what it would look like. The Airport Advisory Board hasn't met for quite some time. There were some disagreements that were going on and some things where the commission asked them to stop for a time. But because the airport has been built out fully, it's not really needed for growth. It's just needed for the management and taking any concerns that come from the community, beautifying the area, putting something on the berm. So all of those things that are still moving forward as the airport is no longer expanding, but the new Forest Service lease will bring in a little more money to help with the aesthetic. And so it's kind of just shrinking it down so that there's, less voices, because there's really no expansion anymore, and it's more about how is it running and what are concerns from the community.
There was a question about, I'm trying to find exactly where it was, but removal from the board, it changed to just 2 votes from the county commission, from 3, so it's not even a majority of the county commission.
I may have
Who's
misread
somebody?
that.
What?
I may have misread that. I thought it was members of the airport overlay zone board that were voting to remove a member. So it would go back. It would go back to a majority, 3 of a county commission. That was my bad when I was going
Okay.
through and filling it out. Sorry.
And we can update that. The prior one actually said 4
Oh, went back
upon
to 7.
4, but it didn't say 4 of 7. It just said 4 members of the county council, which we thought needed to be updated anyway, because then we moved to a 5-member commission, and it looked like, okay, now we need 80% of the commission rather than just a majority of the prior council.
Okay. And then the makeup, and it kind of going back to before, the 3 of them, 2 can be users, and 1 can still be a pilot, but a non-user. So technically, all 3 could be pilots. Because it said a non-user, it didn't say non-pilot. Is how I read it.
That language was already in there.
Right.
We're just changing the numbers.
Well, that was when there was more. Yeah. Now it's shrunk down, so you can have the 3 members, and they.
It used to be 3 users, 4 non-users, but if not enough non-users applied, then it could go to a user of the airport. I think Robert's idea behind the switch, which I think makes sense at this point, is if there's, as far as management of the airport, it's really the pilots that are there on a day-to-day basis and kind of have the idea or the experience or knowledge of how it's running.
Right.
But to maintain a seat for a non-user, so that there's still, if there's concerns from the community, there's still a voice on the board that's voicing those concerns as well.
Pilot, but yeah, but it could be a non-pilot. But it's just a
Right.
non-user of the airport. Could be pilot or non-pilot.
Right. But if you have a suggestion on how to rephrase that, I think we
that-
were just using the old language, but
I-
now it's flipping the majority, you could say, of non-users versus users, and just, it's contracting the board and having more spots open for users, since they're the ones that are going to be there on a day-to-day basis. I know Joe Garfield is looking to retire after 20 years of service to the county, maybe in a year or so. And so I think it was just trying to get the other pilots to step in a little bit more and make sure that there's people with knowledge and expertise to run and support the management of the airport.
And I suppose if nearby residents have a complaint, they just come straight to the county commission anyways.
From my experience, yes.
Yes.
Or me.
basically, there's the one change of the voting from the county commission. It would need a vote of 3 county commissioners to remove.
Yep, I can change that back before it gets to the county commission.
They're appointed by the county commission, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, any other questions for staff or for our attorney? Okay, seeing none, ready for a motion?
No, public hearing.
Oh, public hearing, you're right. For all our public. Motion to go in public hearing?
So moved.
Motion. Okay, a motion by member Little, a second by member Bishop, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now in public hearing. If you'd like to address the county planning commission on this matter, now is your time. See no comments, ready to move out.
Second.
Okay, motion by member Millen and a second by member Little, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're out of public hearing. Now we're ready for a motion. Find the motion.
Madam Chair, I move we recommend approval to the county commission for the airport overlay board code text amendment based on the findings listed in the memorandum dated December 12th, 2024, with the following additional conditions to adjust the, what did you say that?
Remember, county commissioners to, from 2 to 3 for remove.
The number of the county commissioners to vote to remove a member of the board? That works? Okay.
So we have a motion by member Little. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by member Maloney. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the group home text amendment.
The group home code text amendment was a text amendment that staff was directed to bring forward from the county commission. Several 3 years ago, several years ago, Reprieve Recovery, which was a residential care facility, came through the county. I'll let Garrett kind of speak to that. Long story short, though, our code was woefully out of date and alignment with state and federal law. And so this text amendment was drafted to fix that. And if Garrett wants to kind of talk a little bit about.
Yeah, so when that came forward, there were some provisions in our code that allowed the county to restrict things, which would have been a violation of Utah Fair Housing and the American for Disabilities Act, as well as federal fair housing. And so based on that, there was a discussion about creating a new code or updating the code. During that process, though, as Reprieve was moving through the CUP process, the Utah Fair Housing statute said that if there's anything in a county code as a political subdivision of the state that conflicts, then the state supersedes. And so we were able to just supersede the existing code and apply the correct guidelines. However, we wanted to get it updated, and I'll just say thanks to Janet being here to kind of help pull a lot together and get it moving forward. That's been a big help. And at this point, as I'm looking at it, it looks really good. It addresses some of the language that comes in the case law as far as reasonable accommodations, and it's putting it right in the code. I think it looks really good as far as complying with the ADA, the FHA, and the Utah Fair Housing Act as well. So,
Okay, any questions?
Were those the only changes that were made?
We're actually deleting the entirety of what we had, and this will go into the place of what we had. It will completely change the language to meet state and federal law. And I think Janet Christopherson, the Deputy County Attorney, did an amazing job.
this is the code that I believe maybe, I don't know how long ago, maybe 20 years ago or so, was suggested by like UAC or some sort of state, or not state agency, but like the counties coming together and they kind of share different codes, because it did match other codes, specifically out in, I believe it was the Duchesne area. There was a big lawsuit, and I don't know if it looks like maybe Chair Sessions remembers that one, but it was a high settlement and that came out of it because it was written improperly. The state made the change to state, saying that it supersedes, but ours at the time mirrored the ones that caused a lot of the liability because it did go against the case law and the federal language. And so rather than trying to work with the code that existed, which was really difficult, I think that's why it was taking so long initially, a request was made, hey, Janet, if you can go and pull from other ordinances that are trying to fit in within the state and try and pull the best provisions together. And so yeah, we scrapped it and tried to get it where we wouldn't have other things that maybe we missed that weren't compliant, so that it's fully compliant until it changes again. But that's as of right now, it appears compliant.
Just out of curiosity, how many group homes are there in Morgan County?
There's only one that I'm aware of, and I think that that's why our code wasn't really challenged until it started coming through. There's some in the city, but as far as the county, there's only one that I'm aware of.
I only know of that one.
If I remember, there was residential zoning that said care facilities were not even allowed. Did that get removed? I can't remember how that was worded.
It would
Did
have
that
to be
get
removed.
Yeah, so that's no longer in the updated code.
Yeah,
That
that
was
would
one
be
of the
Because once
arguments they
again, that
had.
you can't discriminate based on a disability. And then we also have in parentheses handicap, because the ADA still uses handicap, but all the FHA uses disability. And so we're just saying, under either word term that you're using, we're compliant.
Would like inpatient drug rehab centers fall under this code, or would this be a separate section of our code?
It would. So that's what the reprieve recovery, it was. Yeah, so disability and addiction falls under disability for purposes of fair housing.
Diagnosed.
We don't get into the enforcement
Yeah,
of that.
so that's that one.
That's not us.
I will say the ADA definition is rather broad. I would say
So
it's
it wouldn't
broadly
take much
applied.
to get diagnosed anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no more questions, motion to go into public hearing. A motion by member Murray
Second.
and a second by member Little, all in favor?
Aye.
Now into public hearing. Anybody would like to come up and address us, please state your name. Okay, seeing none.
I'm trying to move out of public hearing.
Okay, motion by member Little to move out,
Second.
and a second by member Maloney, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. We're out of public hearing. So if there's no more questions, ready for a motion?
Madam Chair, I move we recommend approval to the County Commission of the Group Homes Code Text Amendment based on the findings listed in the memorandum dated December 12th, 2024.
Okay, we have a motion by Member Maloney. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Member Murray. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Unanimous. The next, we are on to the business. We have the calendar.
Before we get to the calendar, as additional staff business, I wanted to publicly thank each of you for the time and effort that you spend coming to Planning Commission. I know it's a time sink from your life, and I know it can get exciting sometimes, but I appreciate the time and effort that you put into coming to the meetings and reading your packets and making comments and questions and trying to learn. It's like drinking from the fire hose. I understand that. I'm looking forward to another year working with you all, and the only way up is up, right? So just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I see on the calendars, there's one meeting scheduled for July 24th. Oh. Yeah, Pioneer Day.
I thought you said Pioneer Day.
Pioneer. You
I
probably
almost
did.
No, I didn't, Debbie. That was Matt.
Proud.
Firework day, as I call it.
Got our fireworks day, yep. Okay. So we'll change the July 24th meeting to July 17th. See any other conflicts? So, a motion to approve our 2025 calendar. Motion by Member Murray to approve. Is there a second? A second by Member Bishop. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. Okay. Did any members have a question for staff? Okay. Motion to approve the minutes. A motion by Member Wilson to approve the minutes,
Second.
and a second by Member Bishop. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Member Bishop,